Buried deep in folklore, hidden in forgotten graves, some tales refuse to die.
They drink not just blood, but fear. From warlords to wandering spirits, every culture has one, a creature that walks the line between death and desire.
From ancient myths to gothic obsessions, from real-world terror to literary immortality, tonight we dig through the dirt and dust to uncover the truth behind the vampire.
This is the Story Seekers, where every legend leaves a trail, and we follow it into the dark.
I'm Shanae.
And I'm Laura. Light your candle, keep your crucifix close, something old is stirring.
Down, down, down.
Ooh, I like that one.
I was thinking the other day you mentioned that about some of the stuff you edited out of the podcast where I was, for some reason, saying shit. You should keep those in.
Yeah.
Just keep them in.
Keep them in.
Yeah.
Oh, it was making me laugh so much, honestly.
I had a good
Shitting
laugh.
down. I was like, oh.
I had a good laugh. How are you doing, Law?
I'm good, yeah. I'm happy to have ended my week here. It's been an up and down week.
It's been a long week.
And having a nice glass of wine and doing this is definitely what I needed.
It's Sunday. We both work weekends. We had to finish this weekend with a glass of wine.
Yeah.
We went out for karaoke the
Couple
other
of
night.
heavy nights, yeah.
Yeah. We went out for a birthday party.
Spontaneous.
Had some drinks, ended up at a karaoke bar.
Until 4 a.m.
Until 4 a.m. That was nice. It was really fun. But
it was very fun, but my body did not like me the next day.
All of the people that were there were basically late to work or didn't go to work the next day. I think there was a lot of late night messages saying, I'm so sick, sorry, I can't come in. I reckon.
It's fine. I feel like in Vietnam, people would rather you be honest than just go in. When you're around kids,
you don't want to go in half drunk.
Don't do it. Yeah.
No,
it's not good. As easy as the job is, sometimes it's like, yeah, it's just not worth it.
Hangover, yes, but if you stay out until 4, that's not a hangover anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, my apologies. I'm still a little bit husky. I always get really husky after karaoke.
Oh yeah, definitely. Singing for straight 3 to 4 straight hours.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
It was very fun.
It was fun. The next day, I felt okay. I was tired, but I felt okay. And then I drove home after work. I'd finished my last class and I was fine. And the moment the kids left,
it hit you.
My stomach started. So I literally got on my bike and then right in front of the Citadel, because it's going to be Independence Day soon, they did cannons. So there was so many people in the road. God. And I'm driving like, I'm going to shit myself. I'm going to shit myself.
On Independence Day holiday, right in front of the Citadel.
On my bike. Just
stay on your bike. If that happened, like, you're not going to get off. You're just going to drive home.
Just drive
through the gate.
Yeah. But I didn't. Yeah. I made it. Thank God. I made it. But
yeah,
I almost shit myself. That was crazy.
Oh no. And the one thing about Vietnamese karaoke, for our listeners. Like, it just doesn't end.
No.
It's not like you're going to have someone coming in, like, even giving you a subtle hint and being like, guys, like, it's a bit late now. Because you pay by the hour, they will let you go.
And the rooms,
you just lose track of time.
Are soundproof, so they have no
he
issues.
was like, the old guy was having a little nap outside.
Yeah, there are no issues. You can go for days.
Yeah, and you don't know what time of day it is. It just feels really surreal.
It's like if you go into a cinema,
yeah,
and you walk out and it's still daylight. What year is it?
Yeah.
When
we got to South Korea, because obviously we've done karaoke in Vietnam for so many years, we heard such great things about the karaoke there, and it was not a patch on Vietnamese karaoke. It's really difficult to navigate. It helps if you have friends that can, like,
Vietnam just does it so much better. Vietnam does Korean barbecue better than Korea. Come for me. Come for me.
It's true.
If you haven't tried it, come for me.
Yeah.
They do. Their food is so good.
Yeah.
I think it's also because everyone's so into community here.
Yeah.
Everything's about people. Everything's about
hosting.
Yeah, just everyone having fun or feeling comfortable, being happy.
Yeah.
Very much a big community kind of country.
That's why I love it.
The more that we can get together, the more that families can get together, the better it is.
Yeah. That's nice.
Which is great.
Yeah. Ironically, we're not talking about people who are very social in our episode today. We're talking about...
That's true.
People who, well, possibly live on the...
We're not talking
edges.
about Edward Cullen today. Definitely not talking about Edward Cullen.
I think with vampires, it's so hard to avoid that now. It's so... Even when I mentioned we were going to go into talking about Dracula and vampires
to
my husband.
Twilight.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. Like,
we're traditionalists.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like Twilight.
Edward has his time.
But I want,
Who is your favorite one in Twilight?
Jasper.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very sexy. Very
sexy. Kind of like the dad as well.
Oh yes. Carlisle,
yeah.
Carlisle.
Dr. Carlisle.
He was supposed to be, in the books, I think he's 20.
Okay.
Like 19, 20, 21. He's very young. He's barely older than Edward, who is 17.
Okay.
The actor's a handsome man, but still a bit too old.
Yeah, a little bit too old.
Done it better justice if he was younger.
Yeah, I agree.
Make it more believable that people are confused about why he's a doctor.
Yeah, because that's a big thing in the books, isn't it? Everyone's very suspicious about their beauty.
Yes, because if you're that young, let's say you look 20, and now we're quite a bit over 20, so we've seen 20-year-olds. They look like babies.
They do.
So if you see, no offense if you're 20, but if you see a 20-year-old and they're a doctor, you're going to think they're still learning.
I'm going to...
But also within 3 years, you're going to start wondering, why are you not... Why do you still look like a baby?
Yeah. It's also going to make me feel terrible.
Yes.
Why are you so accomplished at age 20? What's going on? But yeah, I know a little bit about the history, but my story today, I kind of go into somebody who's not a likable person. He's a bitter, nasty,
a real Dracula.
Gross, just cretin, basically.
And after Laura's story, I'm going to be telling you guys about the history, where vampires came from, where the myths and the legends stem from, and go into some real-life vampires.
That sounds good to me.
Let's get into it.
Okay. He lived in a room where the ceiling leaked in slow drips and the floorboards creaked footsteps. The radiator gurgled like an old man. The windows stuck. He didn't need much, just the dark and the quiet. But this wouldn't be his forever abode, now that the layers of scent had started bleeding through the walls. No need for names. He knew them by what they were. Burnt sugar lived above him, baked when anxious, which she was always. Her blood carried a tang of caffeine and apologies. She laughed on the phone often, but the bitterness in her breath told him it was all lies. Sour milk lived on the other side of the wall. His sweat was thick with failure. His sheets steeped in loneliness. Every few nights, something sharp wafted under the door. Cheap vodka or a drugstore spirit. A small scream lingered beneath him, never quite leaving his throat. Cowardly pussy. Mothballs and piss downstairs was barely human anymore. Her scent changed depending on the weather. Some days, she smelt like forgotten flowers and wet newspapers. Other days, like a hospital bed, soaked in unspeakable human mess. He never fed on them. He didn't want to.
I wouldn't.
He didn't need to. His hunger had become a background hum, like tinnitus, the plumbing or the soft scuttling of the rats roaming the building. He had fed long ago before he came to Edinburgh. Fed enough to last a century. Now he just breathed them in, studied them, and felt repulsed at the gluttony he once had. Then he came. He arrived with a scent that didn't belong here. Clean, sharp, professional. Like pages in a new journal before the last confession. But beneath that, old bruises, grief, a recent cut, a deep sadness, not yet spoiled by time. His presence disturbed him. The others faded into their own walls, but he pulsed through his awareness like a heartbeat. He could sense his movements, his rituals. He lit candles all over his apartment, but that didn't mask his smell. He paced in circles. He thought no one could hear when he spoke. He stayed up until dawn, with his grief curling into his skin like smoke. One night, his blood bloomed in the air, metallic and sudden. Not death, but damage, sharp and desperate. He pressed his hand to his door, not knocking, just feeling the vibrations of his sadness through the wood. He didn't want to go in. But the scent changed. It opened, welcoming. Not quite an invitation, but more like surrender. So he opened the door and entered. And for the first time in decades, his hunger stirred. Ink and lilies. The air inside his apartment was warmer than expected. Not the temperature, but the presence. Heavy with the smell of ink and lilies, but twisted now, darker, painful, blood, fresh, but not fatal. It laced in the air like perfume. He didn't breathe it in, he drank it in with his lungs. The space was small, cluttered and quiet. No music, no television, just the sound of his breathing. Shallow, uneven. Somewhere in the back room. He didn't go to him yet. He walked around. There were notebooks on every surface, half filled and ink smeared. His words smelled like shame. He could trace the tremble in his hand just from the oil of the fingerprints. He'd tried to bury things in these pages, but paper rots. In the corner, a cracked plate with dried food. Sweet potatoes, maybe. They were rotting, like everything else. Like him. In the mirror above the sink, he was absent, of course. No reflection any longer. But he felt his eyes on him. He watched from the hallway, body bleeding, mind unraveling. He didn't scream. He didn't run. There was no need. He'd already descended. Something in him wanted to be consumed. And yet, something didn't remember how to consume. He moved closer to him, slowly and carefully. He didn't flinch. His wrists were bandaged poorly, not for the first time, not deep enough to die, but deep enough to whisper. He wanted to vanish, to be taken, to become something else. Something now stirred in him, monstrous, not pity, not mercy, something black. He remembered what it was like to turn someone, the smell of the bone shifting under skin, the screaming, the madness, and then the beauty. This person wanted to disappear, and he could give him that. He sat on the floor beside him as the light broke through the blinds in slices. He didn't touch, he just breathed him in. Soon he would ask the question, not with words, but with presence. And he would answer with silence, and then he would give him what he truly asked for. Not immortality, not escape, just death. He smiled, though no one saw it, no reflection picked it up. And in the first time in decades, he was no longer the only thing in this building that smelled like death.
That one hit hard.
I really like that one. I liked
That was dark. That was beautiful, though.
yeah. I
Very
wanted to do
dark.
some more about his character, like where he came from, like his kind of history. And in my head, he's like an old Scottish,
Okay.
just like Scottish man who's just living like a really lonely, miserable life in this like horrid apartment.
It does. It sounds awful. The people sound disgusting. Which is what I can imagine if you have lived for a long time.
Yeah. You can like sense everything and kind of,
People would just disgust you.
yeah. And when you've seen it all before kind of thing.
Especially if you're in an area like that. Like, people are just
Gross.
a bunch of alcoholics and drug
Yeah.
addicts and just sad.
Yeah.
Huh. That was really good.
Thank you.
I really, really liked that.
Thank you. I'm excited to hear a little bit more. Because everyone, we mentioned this earlier, but like everybody has their own number one interpretation of a vampire, like what you think. It could be this like glamorous person, or it could be someone gross.
Yes, most people
oldie, worldly.
portray them as being these extremely wealthy, old money, cultured kind of people. But honestly, I think a lot of them, if they were to exist, would be secluded.
So over it.
So over it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
No escape.
I barely want to hit my 80s.
Meeting the same kind of people over and over again, like.
How bored are 60-year-olds of people? They don't even want to, like, not even 60. 60 is still young. If you're in your 70s and 80s, grandparents, they're just over it.
Yeah.
They have no filters anymore. They don't
They're
give a
done.
shit.
Yeah.
They're just, yeah.
Yeah. I can see why.
Exactly. Imagine being 350 years old.
Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably go through phases though. At least most 8-year-olds don't feel like they're 30 forever.
No.
So I think that's where the difference lies. Are you ready to hear about the history of vampires?
I am. I'm very excited.
I'm going into this. It was actually quite difficult to really focus in on one thing because it's such a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
So I did my best with my research. Okay. Vampires, mythical creatures born of shadow and fear, have haunted the edges of human imagination for centuries. They prey upon the living, often by drinking their blood or stealing their very essence, life essence itself. Tales of these beings stretch across time and culture, whispering through ancient tombs and forgotten villages in every corner of the world. In many cultures across time and geography, vampires are not the charming, seductive figures we've come to know through books and films. They are something far more grotesque, animated, decaying corpses clawing their way out of their grave. Some return, driven by vengeance, others by primal hunger that cannot be sated. They feed on the living, sometimes through blood, other times by draining victims' energy, their soul, or their essence. Merely being in their presence, some say, is enough to feel your strength slipping away. Vampires are known as nocturnal creatures, not only because they prefer to hide in the shadows of the night, but because the light itself possesses a threat. In older legends, they were believed to return to their graves before dawn, their bodies retreating to the soil that bore them. In more modern folklore, the rules are more severe. Sunlight doesn't just weaken them, it burns them. Flesh sizzling, bones turn to dust. The day is death and the night is theirs. So there are many ways a person might become a vampire. Depending on the culture and the time period, the most common belief, especially in modern portrayals, is that a person becomes a vampire after being bitten by one. But other causes appear across traditions. Witchcraft, 𝑠ℎ𝑎𝑟𝑒𝑑, witchcraft, that, disease, or even something as strange as a cat jumping over a corpse. Probably a black cat, but
that's going to be the way I turn into a vampire for sure. This black cat jumps over my corpse.
Yeah. So once turned vampires were often thought to be immune to aging and disease. They were described as unnaturally strong with accelerated healing, but they weren't impossible to destroy. Most cultures had specific methods for dealing with them. A wooden stake through the heart is the most famous, but fire, decapitation, or exposure to sunlight were also widely believed to be effective. Many legends also mention ways to protect oneself. Garlic was said to repel them, and in some traditions, vampires couldn't cross running water. Christian symbols like crucifixes, holy water, and consecrated ground were especially important in European stories. And in many accounts, a vampire couldn't enter a home unless it had been invited, suggesting that the threshold itself had held symbolic power. A more curious detail from Slavic traditions claim that vampires could be distracted by scattering seeds or grains. They would be compelled to count them one by one, giving the intended victim time to escape.
That's such a like clash of what you imagine, like what we said at the start. Like you imagine vampires to be this like cultured, really kind of knowledgeable, suave, sophisticated person, and then somebody scattering seeds, and a vampire's like, ooh, seeds.
They have to. They like have to. I read
autism.
This. Yes,
Rain Man.
I read this, and I remember seeing this in a movie or something.
Really?
But they were taking the piss of this legend, where it was very much like that. Where it was like, "Oh, cat," kind
it's
of
really
thing.
distracted.
Yes,
that's so interesting.
I don't remember where I saw it, but reading it sparked a little memory I had where I was, But interesting, right?
Yeah.
Very ADHD. Religious influence, particularly from Christianity, shaped many of these legends. In this context, vampires weren't just dangerous, they were unholy. They symbolized spiritual decay, temptation, or divine punishment. But the fact that they could be defeated, even if with great difficulty, reinforced the broader moral belief that good could triumph evil. But vampire myths are by no means exclusive to Christian Europe. Around the world, different cultures have had their own versions of vampiric beings, many with no connection to crucifixes or sunlight. In Romania, the strigoi is a troubled spirit that rises from the grave. It's often described as evil, capable of shape-shifting or turning invisible, and known for feeding on the vitality of its victims. Not the blood, the vitality, their energy. In parts of India, there is the Vitala, a spirit that inhabits corpses and haunts cemeteries. It doesn't always drink blood, but it uses the dead to harm the living, blurring the line between ghost, demon, and vampire. So across centuries and continents, stories of vampiric beings continue to appear. While the names and the traits differ, the core idea is surprisingly consistent. These are nocturnal predators, feeding off the living, resisting death, and lurking just outside of the bounds of human control. These myths don't just entertain, they reflect deep cultural fears, whether it's the fear of illness, of spiritual corruption, or of the dead refusing to stay dead. Vampires have always served as a kind of mirror, showing us what society fears the most. So you'll see in a lot of cases when there was an outbreak of something, the vampire boom would happen. People would be afraid because there are so many people dying. They would be afraid that these people would be coming back. So that's where you'd start to see them maybe even change some burial traditions to try and keep the corpses underground.
Okay.
So did you know that Count Dracula, the infamous vampire from Bram Stoker's novel, was partly inspired by a real historical figure?
No.
You didn't? Oh, exciting. Back in the 15th century, there was a man named Vlad the Impaler. His name meaning the dragon. He was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order sworn to defend Christianity in Eastern Europe. He had two sons, the elder Vlad III, who would later become known as Vlad Dracula, son of the dragon, and the younger Radu, famously nicknamed Radu the Handsome. Yes, that was his actual name. Called him Handsome. Apparently he was a lot cuter than his brother. Their father ruled over Wallachia, which is now part of modern-day Romania, a small but strategically vital region located between the Christian Kingdom of Hungary and the expanding Ottoman Empire. Because of this position, Wallachia often found itself caught between powers at war. To show loyalty to the Ottomans, Vlad Dracul sent his two sons to the Ottoman court, officially as a diplomatic gesture, but in truth they were hostages. They were just there to make sure that their father stayed in line.
Right.
Of course, like any medieval power struggle, things weren't so simple. Wallachia was riddled with political intrigue. There was a real-life Game of Thrones going on with cousins and uncles and all of them fighting and backstabbing, a lot of betrayal and political power plays.
A cool period of history. It's
very interesting. It was very interesting to look up. Members of Vlad's extended family were all fighting for the throne, and the crown changed hands quite often. Eventually, Vlad III returned and claimed the throne. He had spent years in captivity and warfare, gaining a reputation for cunning and cruelty. He was also a brilliant strategist, but what really set him apart was his ruthless tactics. Vlad wanted to send a message to his enemies, so he used fear. He impaled thousands of his enemies on tall wooden stakes, lining roads with their bodies as a brutal warning.
Oh, Vlad the Impaler.
As word of his method spread across Europe, especially places like Germany, and we know how the Germans love their myths, stories began to take a life of their own. People claimed that Vlad drank the blood of his enemies or dipped bread in their spilled blood on the battlefield. Others said he ate human flesh. Whether or not any of this was true, there were the makings of a legend. And as usual, when people don't know the full truth, they fill in the gaps. And storytellers love exaggeration. They love to exaggerate. Vlad became known as Vlad the Impaler. Though feared, he also became a symbol of resistance against the Ottomans. He regained his throne after exile, but didn't hold it for very long before dying in battle. Even after his death, rumors persisted. Importantly, Vlad was never truly accused of being a vampire during his lifetime. That connection only emerged centuries later after Bram Stoker published Dracula in 1897. The name Dracula and the chilling tales of impalement made for a perfect villain. But the real Vlad was something else entirely. A warlord, a tactician, and a symbol of both terror and patriotism.
I've heard he had quite the reputation with the ladies.
Yes.
I watched a documentary recently about that. It's really, really funny.
I didn't go too deep into because I watched a lot of YouTube videos about the history, because reading it was a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of details, a lot of names,
Yeah.
a lot of players. So it was quite intense researching it.
Yeah, for sure.
That wasn't a lot I said, but it took me days.
Yeah.
Days. And then I had to kind of, pick the points.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a very, very interesting person. Very interesting time period.
Yeah, it really is.
Very, extremely Game of Thronesy.
Yeah.
Especially if you get to know, like, he was friends with the Ottomans. Not as much as his brother.
Mm.
And then they killed his dad, or they were the cause of his dad's death, and then he needed to decide, like, if he wants the throne, he's going to kind of have to forgive them, but then he gets them back in the end. It's a whole game.
Yeah.
But then I also have the story of the Casket Girls.
Okay.
Of New Orleans. Have you ever heard of the Casket Girls?
I've heard them mentioned, yeah. I wish I'd actually done a bit more of, like, the historical side of New Orleans, like the witchy side of it.
In New
Yeah.
Orleans. How long were you there for?
Literally 2 days.
Okay.
And one of the days was the jazz festival, but I wish we would have done a bit more, like,
if I do go,
supernatural.
it's one of the only places I want to visit in the US.
Yeah.
If I had to pick anywhere specific, and I don't want to go for the festivals at all. It's not. I want to go the history, the buildings, the French quarters. I'd love to see that.
Definitely.
A lot of our stories that we end up doing, I've noticed, happen in that world. It's very interesting how spiritual that part of the US is.
Yeah, it is.
Very.
You can really tell when you're there with the people. Like, even now, I didn't speak about many supernatural things, but the people are just, like, the most, like, you could talk about something, not so much like conspiracy theories, they're not like crazy people, but like, you could sit down and have a chat with somebody and people would take you like gospel truth, they wouldn't judge you. And I think
so many people have stories when they are in New Orleans. So many people
are just really nice
interesting backgrounds.
Yeah, they've had a bit of, like a lot of trauma there, and you can really tell people are really kind and listen.
All the people that live there and make a living there are very open-minded.
Yeah, they really are.
Because you do have vampires there, people that
witches
are vampires.
Yeah.
That's how they identify as. Loads of witches. And their witch industry, tourism industry is so crazy. They have so many witch shops.
Yeah.
Which I would love to go and look at.
Yeah. Really cool part of the world.
It is very, very interesting. And it's also interesting because I think New Orleans is so unique because there are so many different cultures there.
Yeah. It's a proper mix.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Really nice. Really nice place.
But the Casket Girls of New Orleans. This is another vampire legend that comes from New Orleans, and it's honestly one of the creepiest ones. Excuse me. Back in the early 1700s, New Orleans was still a small French colony. Most of the population was made up of men, soldiers, traders, and settlers. And there were hardly any women. So the French government decided to send women over, but they didn't just want any women. They specifically wanted young, healthy women of childbearing age who could help grow the colony's population. To get girls on board, they painted this amazing picture of this great opportunity to come to the new world, marry a strong man, build a life full of comfort and adventure. But the reality was far less romantic. Most of the men in the colonies weren't even capable of taking care of themselves, let alone a wife and children.
Yeah.
The voyage itself took months, and that's if the weather was good. At the time, people believed that it was very bad luck to have women on deck, so the girls were kept below for most of the journey for their own protection. They were cramped, exposed to disease, likely suffering from scurvy, and lived in filthy conditions.
Oh dear.
There's also the darker possibility that some of the crew members may have taken advantage of them. By the time the women arrived, many were sick, and some didn't survive the journey at all. Over time, the kinds of women being sent to the colonies changed. Some were poor, homeless, or had criminal records and were trying to make a new life somewhere else. It became a way to get rid of some people in society as well. King Louis, I don't know what number, but King Louis wanted to restore the colony's image and decided to send a final group of virtuous women. These girls were placed in the care of the Ursuline nuns. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct. Ursuline nuns. When they arrived, each woman brought with her a small chest of belongings, a simple wooden trunk called cassets, or a casket. The girls were described as eerily beautiful, pale, and quiet. And it said that their skin reddened and soon began to blister under the Louisiana sun.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, these girls are coming from France.
Yeah.
They've been in a ship for months. They haven't seen sunlight, and I think they were quite well off, so they probably were sheltered as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Even while they were in France, I think they had a big the fairer you are, the more beautiful you are back then as well. So
yeah, not
so
going
then
out,
they get to
working
this
outside.
incredibly hot climate in Louisiana, and they're weak, they're sick, they're not doing
sunburned.
well. And then they get sunburned because they're standing around waiting for I don't know what stuff to happen. So of course they're gonna get burned. And everyone was looking at them like, who are these women?
Yeah.
They look weird. Everyone kept saying, they're so pale. They're so pale. The girls were to live with at the Ursuline convent until they were married. But many of these girls were forced into arranged marriages, and those that didn't wed were forced into prostitution in order to fend for themselves. Eventually, the king heard how the girls were being treated and wanted them returned to France. When the nuns went up to the 3rd floor to fetch the girls, it is said that the girls had disappeared. Well, some say they disappeared and others say that they flew away.
Ooh.
There's no real straight answer here. But anyways, the nuns then decided to check the girls' caskets, or cassettes, and found them now empty when they were heavy and full when they'd carried them up. The nuns suspected that the girls had either unknowingly or maybe were forced to bring with them vampires from the old world to New Orleans, or perhaps they themselves were the vampires. So the nuns decided to seal off all the windows on the 3rd floor with nails blessed by the Pope himself. Not sure which Pope. They never specified. But there weren't any records of that. To hopefully stop the vampires from being able to return to their caskets, and be forced to stay outside in the sun. To this day, the attic windows of the old Ursuline convent remain sealed shut, and the locals are said to refuse to pass the convent between the late hours of the night. I was really fascinated by how much authors can influence culture and legend. Bram Stoker, for example, never claimed that Vlad the Impaler was a vampire. He just borrowed the name. But that simple choice helped cement Vlad in popular imagination as one of the most infamous vampire figures in history. And then there's Anne Rice, whose Vampire Chronicles didn't just bring vampires to the modern New Orleans, they gave the city a whole new supernatural identity. It's strange to think that sometimes it's not folklore shaping fiction, but fiction breathing new life into folklore. So, Laura, do you think that Vlad the Impaler truly earned his monstrous reputation, or was history just a little too eager to make him a legend?
I think a mix of both. I think at the time, his actions would have been so, compared to
unfathomable.
Yeah, like compared to other ways of doing things, he was just so against the grain, like a real force to be reckoned with, like feared by people. Like if you think about, I don't know, just like wars and things in general, you don't really hear the dark side of those events. You hear about like if you were a wife or somebody coming back from a war, you wouldn't talk about the horrible things. You talk about the victory, whereas like everything he did was kind of like
everything
celebrated.
was on display.
Yeah,
he very much wanted to threaten people publicly,
and it worked.
Publicly, and it worked. They were terrified of him.
Yeah.
If the Casket Girls really did bring something over with them, what do you think it was? Do you think they were the vampires, or do you think that they brought something with them? Or do you think it's all bullshit?
I think when you mentioned like obviously how different their appearance and like how strange and unique they would have been in New Orleans society.
Imagine everyone there is hardworking.
Yeah.
A lot of them are going to be tanned, even if they're from European descent. They're going to be a lot darker, spend time in the sun, they're going to be used to it. So anyone that's that pale and sickly looking, because remember, if they had scurvy, that means that they had bleeding gums, sunken eyes.
Not a good look.
No. Imagine seeing like red lips because their mouths are bleeding. They're going to look like they just took a munch off of one of the crew members.
Yeah. And the stories kind of go from there, don't they? I think it's a really, I don't know whether I believe it, but I think it's a really interesting story. Number one, to think they brought something over. Like if they did, was it something to kind of boycott the life they were going to live? Did they bring over a curse or vampires?
Yeah.
Which would be really interesting, because basically they're being sold, like they're being like put into a life that they didn't probably want to have.
Yes, because most of them, once they were married off, were very unhappy.
In a land they didn't know, ill. So like that's a really interesting story to think like they
and the
brought
fact
something.
that they disappeared.
Yeah.
Why did no one think, oh, they ran away?
Yeah. Or, unfortunately, you know, given their reputation, they were just lost.
True.
Lost souls. Like you said, they went into prostitution. True. Found themselves on the wrong side of the business. Yes. You know, like, in a place that didn't protect them, and then the king, unfortunately, was too late.
It's true.
If I just think like for a king, if that's true, for a king to be like, let's retrieve them, let's go back, they must have been
save them.
So they must have been so, what's the word, revered? Like they were so important. The stories of kings in the past, they wouldn't, like, maybe I'm wrong, but like I can't imagine they gave a shit about a few pretty girls who went across. Like they must have been
that's why I kind of double checked it, but multiple sources said the same thing. It was quite interesting.
Maybe they had something otherworldly about them, whether that was vampire or they like a symbol of something which other people, like seedy people, would have picked up on, taken them.
True.
You know.
True.
Very interesting.
If why do you think vampire myths are so universal? Why do so many cultures have their own version?
I think just because of the history, and then because of, like you mentioned earlier, there are different things to kind of pinpoint illness, like unfortunate events that happen. Even if somebody's accused of being a vampire, similar to the witches, people are gonna, it's because they're different or because there's something about them. And I think
there's a reason why most vampires in history are known as being recluse.
Yeah.
Different in some way.
Yeah.
Feared for being different. Same thing with the witches.
Yeah.
Or at least a similar thing where people just didn't understand it or were scared of it.
Yeah.
If vampires reflect our fears, what do you think our modern vampires say about what we fear today?
This might be a little bit controversial, but if I was to think of like a modern vampire, it would be like very, almost like not American Psycho, but like typically somebody who is in the limelight. It wouldn't be somebody who's secluded. It would be somebody who's
a celebrity,
like, and doesn't have a good nature, like a politician, like Andrew Tate style. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that he's a politician, but like somebody who is really in the limelight, really doesn't have a good nature. Not that vampires do, but in my head, I'm like, they're secluded.
Did you ever watch True Blood?
No.
Oh my God, you should watch True Blood.
Okay.
True Blood is a really good depiction of what I think vampires, the situation they would be in. So basically in True Blood, the vampires have come out. They've made themselves known. They have their own politicians that are fighting for their rights. They have synthetic blood that they drink because we have science. Obviously, they would, make that happen. There are a lot of vampires that do things right, and they live on their fake blood, which is called True Blood, aka the name, and they just live and work in society, and they're a bit more open.
Okay.
But obviously, just like in today's, if you look at like the LGBTQ, there's going to be people that are against them. Basically that thing of like, you can't be different.
Okay.
So there's parties against them, but a lot of the humans are for them.
That's interesting.
You should watch it. I think you'd enjoy it. Dirty too. Very smutty. Some parts. Some of the men are very that beautiful, what's his name? That Swedish man. Oh, what is his name? He's gorgeous. Peter knows he's on my list.
No regrets.
No. There's a whole family of them that are beautiful. Even the father was a gorgeous man when he was younger. Alexander Skarsgård. Skarsgård? Look at the face. You'll know the face.
Okay.
You know him?
Yeah.
You've seen him? His brother played...
very vampiric.
Yes. His brother played Floki. Okay. Yeah, there's the three brothers, and the other brother played It.
Okay.
All three of them are actors, and here's the father. He also an actor. Stellan Skarsgård.
He looks familiar.
Yes. He was in Dune. I remember him from Pirates of the Caribbean. Very handsome family, but he was a actor in True Blood.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's definitely what I imagine. Just like successful, but like pure evil. If I think of like an old school vampire, I think of like recluse, really trying to not do it, has the moments where they kind of have a relapse.
Snap. Yeah. Like a good addict.
But I just...
Addict.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was to think of a modern vampire, it wouldn't be like a good thing. It would be like somebody with too much power. Somebody who's in the limelight.
Someone who's either fighting their nature or just relishing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the history of vampires.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really, really interesting. And
I enjoyed your story. That was good.
And if anybody has any of their own vampire stories from where they're based or where they're from, that would be really interesting to hear as well, because I know there's so many variations. There's succubus and like people feeding off another person, so it would be really
energy vampires. I didn't go into modern vampires. There are some modern vampires, people that claimed that they are energy vampires, and there's a whole community. I didn't go into any of that because I mostly wanted to stick with the history.
Yeah,
but they're still out there. People still have... I wanted to say cult, but I don't know if that's going to insult anyone. Groups. Societies.
Yeah.
There we go. A lot of them.
Vampire societies.
Yes. From the blood-soaked battlegrounds of Wallachia to the candlelit corner of New Orleans, vampire legends reveal more than just monsters. They expose our fears, our desires, and the thin line we draw between myth and memory.
So next time you hear footsteps behind you or glimpse a pale figure watching from the shadows, remember, some stories were never meant to stay buried.
This has been The Story Seekers. If you've enjoyed the journey, leave us a review, leave us a comment, share your thoughts, or whisper your favorite legend in the comments.
And until next time, keep your garlic close and your doors locked tight. And never invite the darkness in.
I couldn't help but smile on that last one. I was like, ooh. Ooh.